Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Martians and aliens. We're not speciesists on this channel. Everybody's welcome. My name is Alan, and welcome to Mars, the second Genesis. So guys, we are continuing on from where we left off in the last video, and we're looking at the Navcam images from Sol 1431. The image you see here is the original untouched image that I got from Analyst's notebook. This is a direct conversion from the original raw file. Nothing has been done to this. It's the original resolution. And if I zoom in, you can see it's pretty crap quality. So this is the processed version, and I've processed it with the new process called M.E.T.A.D.E.X, which stands for Mars Extreme Tonal Adjustment and Dynamic Expansion. And as you can see, the quality is a lot better, and I've upped the resolution. And if we zoom in, we can see it doesn't break up as much. And we can see a lot more detail. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this area up here first of all. This is the light version. I'll give you a pan through. This looks here as if it's a hole. Just look at all the parallel pieces here. These bits are all parallel. It looks as if these are structural beams sticking out, or what's left of them. So you can see all these are parallel to one another. I'll show you a darker version, and I'll give you a pan through so you can see some more details up here. Down here as well. So you can see this hole a bit better. See, we can see there's something below the CGI sand. I really don't think that's sand, because if you look at the angle, it's nearly at a 90-degree angle. Even with low gravity on Mars, no way sand is going to sit at that angle. I believe it's been put there to hide what's below it, and you can start to see what's below it. Some shapes. Look at this. Again, they're all parallel. That's what tells me it's something that's structural. Now, what I've done here with this one is I've did a high contrast, and I'll give you a pan through it, and you can see the details a lot better. So you can see what's below the sand. There's something circular there. You can see this looks like a square plate. We've got this thing here, whatever that is. It's just a pity they put this CGI sand there. But I believe this is what remains of a structure. And for our next anomaly, we're going to take a close look at this area here. Now for our next anomaly, this is a light version. If you look at this straight line here, perfectly straight, whatever's below the sand. And if you look closely at this area, you can see that's not rock. Almost looks carved. Here as well. And up here. You'll see it better in the darker version. And I'll give you a pan through of this. So you can see that line a bit better. And as you can see here, this looks sculpted. And the same here. Zoom in a wee bit. And look at the way that curves round. And we've got this piece here, look at the arc on that. That could be a couple of rivets or bolts. There's something carved here. I'll show you a higher contrast version. So we can see there's something sculpted on these pieces. Give you a closer look at this. I mean, that's definitely not rock. It's obviously sculpted. And for our next anomaly, we're going to be looking at this area up here. And this is our light version. Got this here, it almost looks like a zip. Got something under the sand. Same here. We have something circular with a couple of spoke-like things coming out. And this piece up here. And we can see all these pieces, that they're all parallel to one another. Same here. We've got a line there. Let's take a look at a darker version of this. And we can see this zip thing a bit better. I'll zoom in and give you a look at it. And we can see this a wee bit clearer below the sand. And this here, definitely not a rock. We've got this here, this pointed thing. We can start to see parallel lines below this CGI sand. And we can see this at the top here, a wee bit clearer. So let's take a look at a higher contrast. And you can see the zip a bit better. We've got some architectural detail up there. And look at the way this comes up and then curves round. That definitely is not natural. And we can see there's something below here. Same here. There's that triangular piece. And we can see this a lot clearer. Could this be windows? We can clearly see there's something non-fractal below their CGI sand. Look at the way that comes down. We've got this. You can see this a bit clearer. And especially look at this area here. So all these bits. And if you look at this wee area here, it's quite hard to see, but it almost looks like a bracket that's holding that up. So I believe this is architectural detail, or what's left of it. Give you a closer look at this here. May have a couple of tubes or pipes sticking out here. Okay, for our next piece, we'll take a wee look at this at the back here. So this is the light version. And we can see we've got parallel lines. This almost looks like rooms. And if we look at this at the front, it looks structural. And the same coming up here. I'll show you a darker version. So if we look at this here, we see some sort of structural detail, and we can also see some shadows below the sand, which would suggest that this is not sand, this is just something NASA's put over it to cover. It could be windows, we don't know. And if we look at this area here, definitely does not look like rocks. See, they're all parallel. Let's zoom in a wee bit and have a look. If we look here, we've got something non-fractal. Let's take a look at a high contrast version. So let's take a look at this area here, shall we? And here we have the light version, and I shall give you a pan through. There's a couple of pipes or tubes sticking out there. See, this is not rocks. Again, it all runs parallel. I believe this is the remains of a structure. Let's take a look at a darker version. Let's darken it a bit more. See, we can see here this is structural. Okay, let's take a look at this area here. And this is the light version, and I'll pan through. Again, if you look at this and study it, you can clearly see there are sculpted pieces here. You can see here we've got a remnant of a tube or something, a pipe. Look at this piece here. Look at these non-fractal lines. It looks a bit like overlapping tiles or, maybe something structural. If we look at this here, let's take a look at a darker version of it. When you examine each piece, you can clearly see without the shadow of a doubt it's either carved or part of something mechanical. Get that arc there, and we've got overlapping lines, almost like roof tiles, and we'll have something down here. If we look, we can almost see it. It could be a carving or a hieroglyph. Let's take a look at this. That looks like a shard of metal with a hole in it. Again, we can see these non-fractal angles. We've got non-fractal geometry all over the place. If you look at the lines, we've got some sort of carving there. Look at this wee pointy bit. That looks like a carving, something quite ornate. Let's take a closer look at this wee bit. Could that be a hieroglyph or a carving? Let's look at a high contrast version, and I've filtered out some of the garbage. There's a wee bit there. You can see that a bit clearer. And these bits here. And we can see this here is definitely not natural. Let's take a look at this area here. This is the light version. You can see some artefacts here because it's been lightened up so much. You can clearly see this is not natural. It's quite interesting, that. Just all seems to be running parallel. Okay, let's take a look at a darker version. Get this piece here. Looks as if it's got a wee tube or something sticking out it. And this definitely looks sort of mechanical. Get this here. That's definitely not natural. Oh, nope. Look at this piece up here. I mean, it's all running parallel to one another. Look at this piece here. They've did their best to hide this, but you can clearly see that's not sand. You can see there's something structural below that rubbish they've put on it. Could this be a structural beam? And we've got something here. Looks as if it's got 3 bolts. Okay, let's go for broke, shall we? We'll look at high contrast version. And I've filtered out some of the rubbish. So you can clearly see here, we've got parallel lines and we've got a piece coming across which is a 90-degree angle to that. And we seem to have sort of holes or whatever. So this is definitely structural. If you look at this piece here, this could be a structural beam. Okay, let's take a wee look at this area here. If we look here, this looks as if it's 90 degrees. It looks sculpted. It looks like overlapping panels. And we've got some either carving or hieroglyphs here. And that could be a pipe sticking out. Look at this area here. And this. And we've got 3 parallel, well, curved pieces. It could be pipes or I don't know. Let's take a look at a darker version. You can see the carving a bit clearer. That's those 3 pipes or whatever it is. Could be a carving or can see this area a bit clearer. Let's look at high contrast version. So if you look here, you can see these panels. It's got non-fractal geometry, which indicates something intelligently made. Let's take a look at this area here. Look at all this stuff at the front here. And this is quite close to the camera, so you can see a lot of detail of this. You can clearly see that's not rocks. It's either sculpted, structural, or something mechanical. See the way these are all parallel to one another. Look at this area here. Again, we've got non-fractal geometry, and we've got something looks decorative under a piece here with a carving. There's non-fractal geometry all over the place. And you only see this if you look closely at it. I mean, at first you just think it's rock. Let's take a look at a darker version. So I like the darker versions because you can see more detail. I don't know what its function is, whether it's just art or something structural or mechanical. Maybe it had a purpose. I don't know. Okay, let's take a look at a darker version with some of the garbage filtered out. I'll just put a wee bit of blur into it just to help you to see the forms. This piece here, this could be carved. Look at this piece here. Okay, let's take a look at this top area, the whole thing together. This piece almost looks like a wing. Looks like a zip. Look at this line here, the way that comes down. We've got a line across there. These are all parallel. I want you to pay attention to this area. On the darker version, you'll see this a lot better. You can see that wing a bit better. I'm saying it's a wing, but it could be just part of the structure. And to me, it kind of almost resembles a wing. Look at this area here. We can see this line a bit clearer. I'll get this up here. And look at this area here. I'll zoom in a bit. Give you a pan through. Okay, let's blur it a wee bit and make it high contrast so we can see the forms below the CGI sand. See, we can almost see what's below that. I believe NASA's mapped this sand to this to hide the actual shape of the structure. So we can see there's something below this and here as well. And this area here, if you look the way this comes down at an angle. I'd like to ask you if you could take a wee bit of time and maybe comment in the comment section what you think this is. But I'm pretty sure it's a structure. Okay, we're going to take a look at this area here. And here is a light version. I'd like to draw your attention to this here. And this up here. This piece here, we've got something which looks like a small block. Draw your attention to this as well. Let's look at a darker version, shall we? There's that wee block, you can see it a bit better. This here could be sculpted. Could this be mechanical? Could it be sculptures? Or what's left of them? And let's take a look at a high contrast version with a bit of blur. We're going to take a look at this area here. This is definitely not rocks or a clay layer, as NASA calls it. You can see something mechanical here with a couple of bolts on it. This looks like something structural. Let's take a look at a darker version. We can see this bit a wee bit better up here. And this. Let's bump up the contrast and give it a wee blur. There's a lot of non-fractal geometry kicking about. Let's take a close look at this area here. What I'll do is zoom in a wee bit. And I'll give you a pan through this. There's a lot of non-fractal geometry here. Okay, that's a darker version. It's a pipe or a tube sticking out. Let's look at higher contrast with a wee bit of blur.